Hey everyone, it's Unfiltered here, and today we're going to take a look at the new Unfiltered Audio plugin, which you can find on the Plugin Alliance or the Unfiltered Audio website. Now I'm going to preemptively say that the sound in this video might be a little bit different because my entire PC setup is acting up, so we're going to have to use the Zoom today for audio, and hopefully it's good enough. The plugin we are going to take a look at is LoFiAF, which obviously stands for low fidelity audio files. No, it's not, obviously, but this is a Christian channel, so we're not going to swear or anything, right? All right. So this little plugin is one of the plugins I was on the beta team for, so I didn't pay for this plugin, and I've been playing around with it for a little while. So that's a disclaimer right there. And let's just take a look at what this thing does. So this is a lo-fi, so it's a plugin aimed at changing the quality of the sound you put into it, and comes with a bunch of controls to make that happen. So for this I will use Excellent Audio's Addictive Drums to give us a nice little drum beat. There we go. And now we can mess around with it. So the first thing I want to shine a light on is down here, this little interface bitty. Now if you grab the little dot thingies, you can actually move the order of the parts around, and every part is labeled at the top. So right here you can see convolution, which is this little part, spectral is this part, digital, analog, and then there's the output. And you can arrange these in any order you want. So you can go from spectral into the digital, convolution analog, or you can put convolution at the top, or any order you want to put them in, you can totally do it. So for organization's sake, let's do it the way they are at the top. So that's like this. And another control you need to look at is the global strength. This affects the scaling of all the other knobs except for the O shift and stretch knobs. So this is a nice way to make the effect more or less pronounced. Let's start off on the convolution side. Let's switch it on. Everything else is neutral. Let's go. So this gives you a bunch of IRs you can choose to degrade the signal in various ways. Cell phone especially is pretty neat to have in your arsenal. Now you can't load your own IRs, but this should give you a pretty good amount of IRs to get your lo-fi needs going. Next to that is spectral. Spectral starts off with the O shift. Basically what this does is it pitches the sound up or down, and then it pitches it back. And in this pitch alteration, the quality of the sound degrades. And underneath you have iteration, so you can set how many times it will do this operation. Now it is important to note that this will eat quite a bit of CPU once you start to put the iterations up, but the effect is very interesting and unpredictable. If you put this to 0, you bypass the effect. Next to that we get a stretch with which you can pitch shift the audio, but using a very inaccurate little algorithm. Very cool. There's a ripple. Basically this just does weird stuff. Next to that we get one of the algorithms which you might have seen in Spec Ops. It's the MP3, which will create artifacting, which kind of gives that MP3-ish vibe. The nice thing is that all these effects go from very subtle all the way to very insane. Next to this we get one of my favorite little segments. It's the CD skip, which has a chance and it has a skip time, and you can either time sync it or have it free running. Small little thing is when it's in sync, sometimes it says it in milliseconds. It's just a matter of just clicking it and it will give the proper values. So let's do this skipping thing. It's a crazy fun effect, especially if you're going to automate this. You can get some very, very cool effects if you're into glitchy stuff. Very cool. Underneath we get a bit crusher. If you have Dent, you might be familiar with this thing. It has a few different modes, ranging from just normal bit crushing to very insane bit crushing, with a bit control and a sample rate control right next to it. Hours of fun to be had there if you really like to destroy your signals. Underneath the already mentioned order of operations, spectral thingy. And then we get into the analog part, and this is probably where a lot of PA fans will become pretty happy, because PA has been lacking some tape-like features, and this will definitely fit that bill. First off, we have Flux. That's of course a tape and turntable thing, where the motor speed is not exactly stable, so you will get some warping and twisting. Definitely a button that works best if you're going to automate it, which of course most DAWs will allow you to do, so that's a lot of fun. Next to that we get a presence, analog style maximizer with compression. Will give some pretty nasty compression artifacting. And the fun thing with drum kits like these is that it almost gives you a gated reverb vibe, which can actually be pretty awesome. If you throw this on toms, you can get sort of that 80s big tom vibe, but with a very interesting lo-fi edge in the release. You can hear some fluttering artifacts. Underneath that we get degradation, frequency modulation, stuff that creates very interesting effects. You have a few different carriers for the interference, noise, stereo noise, sine, feedback, and demodulate. And underneath you can set the frequency where this operation is executed. Especially the station is very nice to automate once you're into sine or feedback, but let's just go through the modes. Plenty of fun to be had there. And underneath we get the noise, which gives us a few noise types. And for this I'm just going to throw it into the always on mode. And especially the stereotypes are very cool. And this next mode will be very familiar if you've ever had a cell phone in the 90s. Always very annoying. I think YouTube compression will not allow you to hear this 15 kHz tone. If you want that, that's an option. It's actually rumored that this is something that was a lot in movies, in movie studios where they recorded voiceovers and stuff. They would have monitors with this tone in the signal. And there are people that say that's the magic tone that gives it a certain character. So if you want to emulate that, you can totally do that, and you have some noise colors. You can set these to follow transport, which is probably very advisable unless you want to hear the noise all the time. And another cool function is the envelope follow, where the noise level will depend on the incoming signal level. So if we do this with our nice little drum beat here, and we will use some tape hiss. It's a pretty cool feature. Underneath we have a little filter section. Now the filter is on the output. If you move it up, it will change your low pass. If you move it if you move it left to right, you will change the low pass. Up and down you change the high pass. And anything in between. Auto gain compensation. Not always a big fan of the auto gain compensation because you can get clicks if you're really pushing it, like with the bit crusher. You can get some pretty wacky effects, which can of course also be part of your sound. So I would definitely recommend using that one with caution. And that's about all there is about LoFiAF as an in-depth look. That's all the controls you have. Up here you also have some extra settings, your skins, randomization depth, and your tooltips, because this also has a randomize button. You can just randomize the living hell out of it. And if you right click any control, you will see the little lock pop up, and that control will not be randomized. So let's fix these controls. And let's see what this gives us. And I think that's probably a good subset of all the sounds you can expect from LoFiAF. So I think this is a very cool plugin, especially if you keep it a little bit more subtle. You can get some very cool coloring effects, but you can also just crank it all the way and basically use it like a very weird distortion unit. There's also ways to use this as a input source, which will probably be demonstrated by other people. So just check out other people's videos on this as well. And if there are any questions about LoFiAF, let me know in the comments and I will see if I can answer them for you. So yeah, that's Unfiltered Audio LoFiAF, and have a great day.